And we're live. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for joining us. And I have my good friend Peggy here. And
Hello.
hi, Peggy. Thanks for getting out of bed. You're one of those
I know.
West Coast girls.
Yeah, it's a little early for me.
Yeah. So here we are. We are talking about something that Peggy and I have been talking about for a while of doing. And I've just been dying to cover this woman. And
Yeah.
she encapsulates and epitomizes uh, so many things that I have just been so against during my deconstruction and deprogramming. She
Mhm.
reminds me so much of guess who? You guys might guess the person that I love to say this person's name any chance I get. And Duncan and I were rewatching, I think for the third time, The Way Down last night on HBO, and
Oh,
I
wow.
I binged the first 4 episodes, and I was feverishly writing things down because not only focusing on the body shaming, the control of eating, which is very prevalent in cults and abusive relationships.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, right. I mean, with any narcissistic relationship tends to have those types of things as far as being controlled. So, yeah, we're gonna dive in. Who knows where we're gonna take this, but there's just so many things to talk about regarding
Yeah, for
Gwen
sure.
Shamblin, right? So I just want to say hi to
Oh,
some
boy.
people. I know it's just I did the I was doing the thumbnail, and I was thinking about The Way Down. Her program was called The Way Down, is in
Yeah.
WEIGH. Is that how you spell way? And
Right.
HBO renamed it The Way Down. And I was thinking about, we're always talking about rabbit holes. So I did one with like a rabbit hole, but then her church and
Oh,
a
that's
little
right.
rabbit.
Oh, I saw
Maybe
the
it was
little
lost
rabbit.
on
At
maybe it
first,
was
I was like,
lost on
why is
everyone.
there a rabbit there? That is so smart.
Yeah, but nobody probably got it. So, but I thought I would do it. Anyways, so oh, the higher the hair, the closer to God. Yes.
Mm.
The famous Dolly Parton. Well, she can get away with it because she's just so sweet. But yes. And yeah, I was talking the other day about how I was accidentally watching this YouTube video of this Southern gal, blonde Southern gal, who's talking about fighting the frump. And she went through the whole thing with the hair and the shoes and the accessories and all that. And then later on, I realized what her real agenda was, because she was talking about posture and countenance. So
Mm.
no one likes to. Well, of course, she didn't call it a resting bitch face, but no one likes a frumpy person with a serious look on their face. So and
Oh,
keep that
okay.
hair keep that hair high. We love you, Ash.
Hi, Ash.
Thanks for coming. Um, love it. Hi, Ash and Marilyn. No, this is well, we're saying hi to Ash in the chat, but this is Peggy. But yeah, I've
Hello,
been saying hi to
everyone.
Ash, and make sure you subscribe to Ash if you haven't yet. And we're trying to talk Peggy into having a channel. It is streaming to her personal what do you call it, like your handle or
Right,
your
for the
little
first
channel right
time.
now. So yes, it worked. And with 3 subscribers. So because you haven't promoted, but
Right, right.
it works. So hey y'all, if anybody is starting a channel and worried that they need 50 subscribers, I guess that's not true, because it is streaming
Yeah.
to your brand new channel. So, and we got Pup Groomer. Hey. Hello, Pup Groomer 20. And oh boy, I got, so many people that come
Hi,
in every
Joel.
day. Thank you so much, Joel. You're a
I
good
know.
friend.
Joel
Oh
is
my
so great.
goodness. Hey. Hi, Liz. Love you, honey. And I've been flashing. I don't have it right now, but I've been flashing that Taylor's tea like every morning that I've been doing morning musings, and it's amazing. So thanks for that recommendation. Yeah, so we got Nancy. Hey, Nancy. Good morning. You are really good. I'm glad, and you're You're amazing. I've been watching your I'm sorry if I don't always comment, but I put I put Liz on and Kelly and whoever is on, and I'm just running around doing things, but I've always
Yeah.
got SBTV playing in the background. Hey Cindy, great to see you. And Frankie, I feel like romper room. But I just like to acknowledge everyone that's taking their time to come in, you know. All right. Scrolling down. Love it. So glad to see you. Oh, hey. Hey, babes.
Hi,
Hey,
Michelle.
Michelle. Hey, so this was also partially inspired and accelerated by a stream that Michelle and I did the other night about uh, the chronic. I think we named it like Healing Horizons, and talking about chronic illness, chronic
Mhm.
pain, and body image. So that was definitely started the spark of it all with let's do this now. you know. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Go
speaking
ahead.
of
Go ahead.
oh,
Uh, you clicked. Go
sorry.
ahead.
I just happened to see this one as you were saying that.
Constant pain. Oh, okay. Um, Marilyn, was it Auntie Harju? I'm more of a lurker, but I found your last stream about constant pain and such was quite eye opening to me. Um, I think that so many of us can relate to that subject, and
Oh, yeah,
there are
absolutely.
so many trauma survivors in this community, and whether you're a cult survivor or an ex-Scientologist, there's so many other things that can cause and contribute to chronic illness and chronic pain. So,
Right.
and
Mhm.
I know
Mhm.
we've talked about that, Peggy.
Yep,
That
yep. And I definitely have all of the various, autoimmune disease and IBS and et cetera,
hmm
that can be caused by trauma. So I'm right there with y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad we can talk about these things. I want to talk about things that are, applicable to so many, and have people's voices heard. And just see so many great exchanges in the chat when I'm
Wow.
blabbing away up, on the screen. But I just love to see people encouraging each other and relating to each other. So
Mhm. Your
this
chats
is
are always so great. I
thank
love
you.
them.
I
I
love
love all you
chats.
guys in Maryland's chat.
I know. I have such a great group. I'm just so I would say blessed. I don't know. What's another word? Fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Hashtag
Okay.
blessed.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, hey, there's my girl, Marlene
Hi,
Sweeney. That's right.
Charlene.
Don't you forget it.
That's who she
Poet.
is.
Hey, poet. Poet always repeats it at least once or twice. And we've got Miss Sunrise Dawn. Hi
Hi,
from North
Dawn.
Georgia. I bet nice and warm down there still, right? It's freezing here. Uh, Alicia. Hey, Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
And Creepy B. And did I miss anybody? Well, we'll come back. Louise to Maryland from Boston. Oh my goodness. My old stomping grounds. That's not all that far from me. Linda P. Oh, hey, Linda P. Oh, on the clock. Okay. Okay, we won't tell anybody. I won't put you up on screen.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
won't out
Alicia.
you. No worries.
Yeah. Okay. We already got a couple star things, and I'll go through those if you don't mind. We can go through those quick, and then we'll kind of get
Yeah,
into
for
the meat
sure.
of it all. Oh, we got Ego Next Door with Jennifer Hachia.
Hi, Jennifer.
You're not blessed. You're just reaping all the awesome stuff you put out there. Thank you so much. That is super sweet.
I know
We
Marilyn
got
has such an amazing energy, and it's so great that she's here, sharing that with us on
thank you.
YouTube, especially like in the mornings when we need that kind of energy.
I don't know where it comes from in the morning. I was never a morning person. I literally was like crawling around and I just said something to Kelly. It was a Bob Dylan song, and I was just like, "I love you, Kel." And I was like, "I'll come, crawling down the avenue, just to make you feel my love, right?" Like I'm here. I am, and I realized I was late for the stream, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm limping," but it doesn't. I don't know. Like sometimes I think it's just my. I don't know. Like I did Roberta Blevins' podcast,
I
and it
listened to
came
it
out
yesterday.
yesterday. It's
Mhm.
Life After MLM, and she said something in the beginning. It was funny. She said, Marilyn makes things sound like she seems so happy or whatever, and I'm saying like these terrible things, but I'm like, and then this happened to me, and I know like I sound. I don't know. It's just my voice. I apologize if I make. Plus, I do laugh a lot. You know, I can't help it.
What are we
It's just
gonna do? What are we gonna do? We can't sit around and cry all day.
you know,
We've
that'd
done
be too
that
funny.
enough in our lives.
That's true. That's true. And I think it's empowering to be able to talk about things and not, not be like Eeyore all the time. It's like, hey, this happened and let's, empower each other and talk about it.
Exactly. Mhm.
So Peggy, do you want to go through some of the start and we can acknowledge those and then we'll get into the history of it all and what we're really talking about
Yeah,
here.
for sure. Joel says, I met her in the 90s. She was on a press junket for her book. I got the heebie-jeebies. She was creepy.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Wild. That is
I
wild. Thank you,
wonder,
honey.
her hair in the
Duncan brought me
90s.
coffee.
Oh, her hair in the 90s probably wasn't up to here yet. I think as she got, I read as she got crazier, her hair got higher.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later. I mean, people were afraid to tell her how ridiculous it looked, and she got all that for free too, the hair, the nails, everything. Yeah.
Mm. Louise says, I have IBS and fibro, though I never talk about the fibro. It took a lot for me to accept that diagnosis.
Yeah, I have
I understand.
fibromyalgia. And when I was diagnosed, it was like it's been about 17 years now. It was fairly new on the scene, and
Mhm.
they called it like a syndrome because it was just a group of a list of symptoms they couldn't explain. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was very hard to accept it and also to feel like I was being believed or validated that I wasn't
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it has come a long way. Yeah, I went to my
It
doctor
has.
yesterday and I've like in the past I've had doctors that like don't really want to talk about it because they don't feel like they know anything about it or they really want to
Yeah.
acknowledge it, but my doctor's really good about it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
So
That's
I'm
great.
talking about it. Yeah.
It is another stigmatized type of,
hmm
illness or autoimmune disease.
Armin. Hey, Armine. Um,
Amine?
yeah.
Oops. Oh, hold on. I double tapped it.
So hi Marilyn. Hi. So happy to catch a live. I always seem to miss it. You're such a kind, caring, loving, very talented person. Thank you so much. I love your crochet and love these new series on the effect of trauma. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thanks for the encouragement. It really
Mhm.
means a lot. Keeps us going, right, Peggy? I mean,
Yes,
if
for
people
sure.
um if people want to hear it, we'll put it
And
out
it
there.
if it's helping people, finally having these conversations.
Kelly said, Marilyn, your stream with Michelle was so good. Really got me thinking. Yeah. Michelle is she's just a lovely person. I mean, I could spend the whole stream talking about Michelle.
I know.
She really shares from her heart and has talk about a survivor. I mean, there's so many that,
Yes.
quote never ends that I've talked to that just have so much to offer and so much to say. And
Right.
Michelle's just a beautiful, beautiful soul.
She
And if you
is.
haven't seen
Mhm.
her latest song video, she and Kelly did a collaboration together, and then I think they're gonna do some more collaborations. But Michelle put out a love song to it was a cover, and she put out a love song to the community. If you haven't seen that, check out at Mishcarp and you'll love it.
It made
And
me cry.
bring the tissues. Yes,
It
bring
made
the
me
tissues.
cry.
Yeah. You want to
Auntie,
read that one?
it's been hard to admit to myself that I have only so many spoons per day. Yes. And I can't be like the super energetic person I wished I was. Oh my gosh. I absolutely relate to that so much. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And actually, that's interesting because my daughter even said to me a couple months ago when I was still trying to push myself, is she's like, "Mom, you don't have the energy that you had a couple years ago. Like you have to give something up." And it's so hard. Like I don't want to give things up, you know? I'm used
Yeah.
to go, 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 and I can't. I'm just too sick all the time, too low energy. So I relate to that so hard.
Yeah, and I really appreciated Michelle explaining what the spoon theory was and how she played
Yeah.
a 5-minute video, and
Yeah.
uh, that really explained it, and I could totally relate. Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
nice to know that you're not alone. You're not the only one that runs out of gas, halfway through the
Mhm.
day.
Yeah, yeah, like,
Uh,
I need to lay down. I need a nap. I need rest. It's just, it sucks, but not a
yeah.
lot I can do right now.
Yeah, well, I know you can relate to the, insomnia slash painsomnia. Someone messaged me the other day and said they had painsomnia, and I was like, "Oh, yes, that's what it is." Yeah. So when you're running on, 4 hours sleep for several days in a row, you need a nap. So
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where, well, okay, I used to feel lazy or I used to hide the fact. I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm busy. I have an appointment from 3 to 5," which it
Oh.
was an appointment with my bed. So the higher the hair, the closer to God. Yes, I think that might have been, Dolly Parton that coined that,
Yeah, it
right?
was, uh-huh,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yes, I
but
learned I'm a spoonie.
a
Yeah,
spoonie, yeah.
yeah. So, okay. Gwen Shamblin.
Miss Gwen, alright.
Yeah, yeah. You want me to do a little bit of a history? And I know you've got some things, kind of
Yeah,
more, present day things, and then we can kind of go back and forth.
yep,
So,
sounds good.
Gwen Shamblin, she was, I don't know what year she was born or anything, but
Mhm.
she was brought up in, I believe it was Church of God, a
Church of
very
Christ.
Church of Christ, right? Church of
Mhm.
Christ was a very traditional, patriarchal, um,
Bible-based.
Bible-based,
I
right?
hate
They
that
all
ter
say they're
I hate that term.
Bible-based
Mm.
church. I would say legalistic, yeah, traditional, all that. And when she, fast forward, I don't know much about her childhood, but when she went to college, she she gained the terrible freshman 15. Oh,
Oh, no.
not the freshman 15, but she went to school to be a dietitian slash nutritionist, and she gained that freshman 15, and that was like the end of the world, right? So she
Mm.
started looking into different ways to lose weight, and she was very, as she would call it, on fire for God. So she was seeking the Lord about how to lose the weight, and God gave her a revelation about a new way to lose weight. And what it boils down to is this not new thing called intuitive eating.
Yeah.
And it's been around forever, right? And it does work. But she put a religious spin on it. And
Mhm.
she would say things. I mean, I feel like now looking back and seeing what she's saying, she was kind of putting her foot in her mouth, but nobody noticed it because she'd be like, God made us with addictive personalities. We are born to be addicted, but he made us to be addicted to him, not to food or alcohol or cigarettes or all that. So be addicted, but be addicted to the Lord. Right. So she would say things like, instead of, and then when she started, this was in 1980 that she started her career. And then 1986 is when she started the way down. And, when you think of way down, like It was a spin. It was a clever spin on the Southern, way down, like down south, and she named it Way, as in Weigh, and so she's already got the little um, I don't know, gimmicks or whatever. And when she started, she looked like the normal, like 90s mom, right? Her hair
Mhm,
was
yeah,
just a little poofy, but nothing like it became.
for
And
sure.
sweet Southern accent and all that. But she would say
Mhm.
things like, she'd have her book and she'd be like, instead of buying food this week, and then she's like, oh, extra food, I mean, buy my book, And it's like, really? Instead of buying food for your family or your
Yeah,
children,
buy food.
buy
Just
my
to
book?
spend $40 on my book.
Yeah. But her whole program exploded. I mean, she was on Larry King, she was on 2020, she was on ABC, CBS, LMNOP, everything. And
Mhm,
um when uh at her height, she was in her program with the seminars and the books and the money going out the door left and right.
mhm,
Um It was in four this is what it says in the there's a couple other figures depending on what year we're talking, but
mhm.
in the documentary, The Way Down, it said at one point her program was in 14,000 churches in 70 countries. So,
Jeez.
that's big.
Oh
That's
my
big.
gosh, I did
Yeah.
not realize it was, like, spread out so far.
14,000 churches in 70
Wow.
countries. That's huge. Yeah, so it became like a little, like, kinda cult within the churches. People really,
Mhm.
really were getting on board, and that's how she got so much attention. But she tended to, like cult leaders do, go a little overboard with things, and they have lots of foot bullets, right? So she'd always have to like almost pull back and kind of retract things. Like I don't know, can you say the Holocaust in on here? But anyways,
Oh.
she likened that losing weight to those types of camps that everybody lost weight when they left, because she's like, I no excuses, be obedient. Started using words like obedience and God and surrender, just extreme, right? And then she'd have to
Yeah,
pull back a little bit, and then she did another foot bullet, whooped out another foot bullet, and denied the Trinity, and that is a basic
yeah,
tenet of Christianity in
yeah.
mainstream churches, that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are one. So you don't
Mhm.
deny the Trinity. So she
That's
screwed up
something
on that.
that's
Yeah.
something that's I mean, I grew up Catholic, and that is, like I'm not a practicing Catholic by any means, but even now, I'm still like, you know,
I know.
like,
Blasphemy.
"No."
Blasphemy. Mm. I'm gonna just pop up with some things as we go along, and also, I thought that was like a good way, good place to maybe get some input, and also moving into where she started her own church. So it wasn't just the weight loss program. It was. I think she started to get some pushback from other leaders and other churches, where I think she kind of tended to redefine herself and just do things like, even her ending, she went out with a bang. You know what I mean? It was like not planned, but and
Literally,
very,
yeah.
very sad and tragic. But
It was.
some of the things that
Mhm.
she did were just so like marrying Tarzan, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, so out there.
I know, just out there in the hair and everything. But Jesus cigarettes could be a new brand. Love it. That's funny. Aaron, Gwen was a crazy lady. My mom and her friends definitely read her stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I remember in the late '90s, I don't remember her specifically, but I remember that book, and I remember that book just being everywhere, like, on bookshelves everywhere, and, like, it was in all of my friends' moms' houses, like
Mhm. Sorry, I'm just starring some things.
Lovett
Pop her in
says, "I
my
forgot
chat.
how she died." We'll get into that in a little bit, but
Yes,
that's
we'll
I mean,
definitely get into that. Yeah.
it is tragic. It's not I mean, it is sad,
It is. You know, I don't wish that on anyone at
Right.
all. I
Mhm.
was Yeah, I was shocked, and the tragedy that ended her life actually happened in the middle of making the documentary, and so many
Right.
people who had been testifying against, about some of the abuses were, oh my God, like they were shocked, they were just
Mhm.
devastated, you know. So let's see. Um, Auntie, life is hard, and if one finds comfort in deity, it's very relatable in my book,
Mm,
even though I'm an atheist myself. Yes,
mhm.
absolutely. We're not saying anything against, mainstream Christianity. We're just looking into high control and charismatic leaders and cult um, tactics and control.
Right.
So, okay, we can go back to that one later. And yeah, so then she started talking about this kind of higher calling, highest and best, elitist thing, and about, against hypocrisy, which is very ironic and hypocritical for her to talk about hypocrisy, as we'll see later
Yeah,
on,
just a
right?
little.
Yeah. But so she started her church. Do you have any thoughts on the beginnings of that whole dumpster fire slash rabbit hole,
Mm,
everything?
right, right. Well, I know that she called her church the one church or the real church, which is so common in that type of situation, as you know personally.
Yes.
Um, and I think that it was easy for her to just get this group of people in within her grasp and just like,
Yep.
she
Yeah.
gets them in and she literally put them in a building so that she could have them to herself and indoctrinate them in her way because
Yeah.
she was getting the outreach as far as the way down the book and the method, but she wasn't getting the outreach that she wanted as far as her indoctrination. So
Yeah.
yeah, that to me
That
that
is such a
church
good
was
point.
necessary to her.
Yeah. That's such a good point to point out, because they were they meaning her followers, people that had done the program, and some of them had lost like over 100 pounds, many of them.
Mhm, yeah.
And you even
Mhm.
see in the beginning, the opening credits, in the, what do you call that, uh the intro of the
Yeah.
documentary, people were holding, and it's like this, like pants up and saying, these were my pants, right?
Yeah.
And they were just so grateful, and they felt like, not only were they looking to her to lose weight, but also just for direction in their life. And that's where the hook started, because she might have been very helpful in losing weight, but using something she stole, which was intuitive eating. But
Uh-huh.
she started to make this whole religion around it, and
Yeah.
calling it Bible based and all that. Anybody can take verses from the Bible and blow them out of proportion, right? And
Mhm.
create their own brand of religion. And so telling, people, we're going to be a remnant. Now, that is really that really strikes a chord with me, because Marlene
I
used that
bet.
word a lot.
I
And
bet.
a remnant, if you think of like a remnant of fabric or a little, a piece of something, this was like a special exalted piece that was precious in the sight of God. In the Bible, it talks about remnants in the Old Testament, but also the New Testament was like that 144,000. Um,
Mhm.
that the Jehovah's Witnesses talk about, that will
Yep.
rule the new kingdom. Only
Mhm.
144,000. Marlene definitely
Hi,
knew.
baby.
Oh, kitty. Hi,
Kitty, kitty.
kitty. I love your kitty. He can be.
Hi, pups.
Aw.
He wants
We
to step on my keyboard though, so I'm like, please don't, because
we love our
that's
fur
we're gonna lose
babies.
you.
Oh, you can just pop back in. You can have the kitty do the stream with me. I won't mind. Just kidding. Yeah. So the remnant. Yeah, it was that was the elitist thing, and Marlene definitely knew that she was part of the 144,000. And just like the fact that I always thought I was going to miss the rapture, I definitely wasn't one of the 144,000. But I wanted to just kind of be near them, right? Be counted as maybe one of them that could be someday.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I that really struck a chord with me because it was
I
this,
bet.
we're set apart, we're special, we have
Mhm.
the truth. And before you know it, I wrote down different aspects of people's lives that she controlled, and I just, checking off all the boxes exactly, what I experienced in my cult too. And
I was
strange that it
thinking
was a
about
woman.
that.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
I was thinking
insane?
about that. I drew a lot of parallels to you when I was doing a little research on it. Mhm.
Yeah, like, the first thing that I noticed was the structure of the church. It was, you know, you look at pictures of it, it was like nothing around. It was just that church. It was like, here it is.
Yeah, it's
And,
so funny.
yeah, isn't it weird how, like, it just kinda sticks up into the sky and, like, it's like, "Ah, God's glory is
Yeah,
around it." But she was clearly the leader, but she pretended that the elders, the men around her, were really in charge.
yeah.
And it totally was
Mhm.
not true. It wasn't
Oh,
true.
yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
did her dirty work, and it's exactly how it was in my cult too, was that she was like, "Oh, no, no, I'm just," she wouldn't call herself a prophetess, and even in that deposition, Gwen really stopped short of calling herself a prophetess, was like, "Well, I don't call," just like someone's like when they wanna, when they wanna compliment themselves, it's like, "Well, I don't call myself a prophetess, but my friends do." You know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
mean, you can call me one if you want, but
Right. Right, exactly. And, the another thing was that the men around her were, she kinda used them as scapegoats because if something went wrong, like with we'll get into the child, abuse
Yeah,
situation later, when something went wrong, it was like it was pinned on them, or it was denied, or it was, "I didn't say that," the recording, like, she just denied everything. The
yeah.
recording was doctored up, which is really bizarre because they had a search warrant and they went in and got it out of her library in the church. Like, how is that
Mhm,
doctored, right? So,
mhm.
and she just had ways of even in just the foundation of it, and um things like how she had a big focus on um this thing about, like, the second generation, like, she hired lawyers and had, people, like, anybody that left the church, she would hire a lawyer so that the remaining parent, a lot of times it was the father, could have
Mhm.
custody to try to fight for custody, and that was another
It's
whole
terrifying.
strain. I know, and we'll get into her attitude about children, later on, but just one thing after another, this reminded me of Scientology, the whole infrastructure of, your dentist, your piano teacher, your lawyer, your everything was all remnant church people. And if you left, like there was one lady who was a piano teacher, she said, there went all of my all of my students, right?
I know.
And like if you needed anything, financial advice, anything, it was all this whole structure, just like
Right,
in
right.
Scientology, you
It
know?
reminds me
So
also of, like, Mormon churches too. They really
mhm.
rely on each other, a lot of times. I'm not gonna say every single church everywhere, but it's similar to me in that regard.
Sorry, there's a special friend's birthday today, and I just told them to get in my live chat. Oh, you okay? Told them to get in my live chat so we can say happy birthday to this
Oh,
special
yay!
person that we all know. Just saying. Sorry, I'm like, "Oh, there's a butterfly."
I'm the same, I know.
Hey, you'll understand if they pop into my chat, you guys will understand.
Yay.
Yeah, so anything else about, the structure of the church or some of the tactics and things that they did as a unit in that
Right,
church?
right, mhm. Um, so they also, I mean, obviously, they're gonna have their way down program, in the church, and supposedly, okay, so I went on their website last night and I'm like, what does their website say about all this? Okay. And of course, there is a um whatever it's called, a statement denying everything about the documentary.
Oh,
Everything
of
was
course.
false.
This
Everything
sounds
was
like
wrong.
Scientology in the aftermath, dude.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, like their absolute denial of everything. We're not gonna be held accountable for anything that was said. So, it was interesting to me that, they said on their website last night, that I was reading, um, we accept all people, all shapes and sizes, all types of people. We don't body shame. We understand that the Lord makes everybody in all shapes and sizes, right? And of course, they're going to say that. And if you think about back then, all of these people coming forward now and saying that they were forced to lose weight, that they were ridiculed for being overweight. And that is so scary to me because one thing that popped in my mind, like I have an eating disorder and I've had an eating disorder for a really long time. Like when I was a teenager, I was anorexic, like severely anorexic. And now the eating disorder's gone in the other direction, as it does sometimes. And
Mhm.
now I eat way too much and I've screwed my metabolism to the max. Like it's like basically like I'm done with you. I don't understand what you're doing to me anymore. Um but I found it interesting, like I said, oh, we love people of all shapes and sizes, but there's all these people coming forward now saying, there's one lady that was on the documentary, and she's like, I could have like 10 bites of food a day. And
Yeah.
it's just like, so it interests me that I keep saying interests me. Uh, I'm just, I'm curious, I guess, about what the program was like then and if they've made any changes. Like I mean, she was an actual dietitian.
Yeah.
It's just it's boggling to me because I've worked with dietitians before, and I don't suggest trying to lose any significant amount of weight without a dietitian or a doctor. If you are obese, then I think that you should have an expert, and she was an expert. It bothers me so much that she did so much damage to people. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. It is no joke. I'm in recovery. We'll see what happens. um
Yeah.
but that's one thing that struck me. Obviously, having an eating disorder, it really bothered me. And I know that you have a huge problem with the F word. And I was thinking that too as I was reading things last night and watching videos. I kept thinking the F word, which is
Yeah.
not what people might expect the F word to
It's not
be.
it's not fuck.
Yeah.
It's fasting. Yes, fasting, because I know that, some doctors would recommend that that's healthy at times, but it can be taken too far, and to me, it's tied to, um, so much, shame, control. You're like there's certain things that are just, basic needs, right? We need food, we need sleep, we have we need like love, community, comfort, you know, probably some of us need sex. I mean, it ebbs and flows,
Yeah.
but it's definitely basic needs, and that really um, reaches into your being. Like,
Hmm.
if someone's controlling what you eat, and it's just so much more to it, and you can
Yeah.
see this is such a good example of the type of control that cults and abusive abusers. Um, narcissists and what have you, sociopaths
Hmm.
do to their victims. It's like they reach right into the core of your
Yeah.
basic needs, and they
Hmm.
screw it up and they control it. And I mean, without those things, you're kind of at their mercy.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
she got to where she, she just got large and in charge, skinny, 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 but her hair got bigger,
Yeah.
her countenance, her voice, her,
Right.
you
The
know,
presence. Mhm.
she started acting more and more like Marlene, because Marlene was very kind of sweet and nice at first, but then it was like,
Oh,
you people get right with God. We're blah 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 blah. We're the remnant. We're special. You need to obey. You need to obey. You need to obey. And just hearing that was just like I was bristling watching this the shit show last night on my screen. But
yeah.
then people
I
were
bet.
testifying how um it got to where, and it's exactly what happened in my cult, you couldn't make a move. Like she controlled. Here she's got, I don't know, it's 2,000 parishioners, just like with David Miscavige. He controls every little thing. What do
Yeah.
they have the time to do this? But she
I know.
controlled whether who they married, where they went, whether they went to a wedding or a funeral. People were looking to her, and we would do too. We would practically line up, to Marlene's office to be like, what do we do now? I've been invited to this, and should I go
Oh,
on vacation?
wow.
Yeah, every little move in your life was
Wow.
controlled. So, and if you didn't take their advice, her advice, you were in trouble. And it seems like that's kind of what it came to with Gwen too. And this hypocrisy. Funny that she started this church to fight the hypocrisy that was in the church as a whole, God's
Mhm.
people. And
Mhm.
nobody was allowed to get divorced, even if they were being beaten. Even
I know.
biblically, if your husband cheats on you, you can
Mhm.
get a divorce. In the Bible, it
Right.
says, infidelity is grounds for divorce. Says it,
Mhm.
in Jesus said it. Jesus said it. So she wasn't letting them get divorced, but then she discarded her husband, who was overweight and not really her thing
Mhm.
anymore, and married Tarzan, he looked a
Mhm.
lot younger than her,
Oh, yeah.
you
Oh,
know.
yeah. I mean, he
Tarzan
was
the
good looking.
handyman. He
He
was an
had a nice
he was an
body.
actor. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
cute. He's an actor.
But
And he knew how to
also,
act. He
yeah,
knew
I was
how to
gonna say
act.
he was very charismatic. Like,
Mhm.
he could get up there on the stage with her and woo everybody, which I'm sure that her other husband couldn't really do.
Yeah.
Mhm. Made her look much better in probably lots of people's eyes. My
Right.
eyes, like,
So,
out with the old, in with the new. I don't always agree with that, and
right. So
that's
I
another
just
thing
want to
on
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, that's another thing on their website that they say that they don't, they don't ask people to get divorced, and although the thing that they say is they suggest counseling first. So they think that all couples should go through counseling before they consider divorce, and I bet it's their counseling, right? It's not like go to any therapist you'd like. I bet it's with them and their
Yes,
elders.
and they use counseling and interchangeably with basically a what I would call going for the board, or a COMEV, in
Oh,
Scientology.
yes. Mhm.
So they would like, oh, what, I don't want counseling. Like a woman who had some mental health issues. It was like, oh, no, 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 go to counseling. But she knew basically they would just, R word her soul, and condemn her and tell her what to do and make her feel bad. So that's not the kind of counseling you really
Mhm.
want, right?
Right,
But
right.
I just want
Mhm.
to take one little interlude here to I dragged this person out of bed. Denver Steve-O, happy birthday. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Happy birthday,
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Steve-O. Sorry, I was making a banner for you, that's why I wasn't
Oh,
responding right away.
oh, okay. That's
I'm
okay.
like, "Oh, wait, I didn't respond. Happy birthday, Steve-O.
That's okay. You say it's your birthday.
Birthday.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
We
Happy
love you,
birthday to
Steve-O.
ya. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. How old are you now? How old are you now?
How many candles are on your cake, Steve-O?
Yes. Yes, I am remiss, but I do have something for you, Steve-O, and I will send it. Hopefully, it get to you before Christmas. So yeah, happy birthday, Steve-O.
I hope it's a good day.
Yeah, have a great day. I hope you slept in. All right. So I'm sorry, what were you saying? I just keep seeing happy birthday. I'm like, oh, we gotta acknowledge Steve O because I told him to get his ass on my live stream right now
Get on
so we could
here.
say happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday. Yeah, I love it. Put counseling in quotes.
Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
counseling.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen The Way Down, and seeing this makes you want to see it, there's it's on HBO, but I think someone told me that they might have put it on Prime Video now too. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure,
Okay.
but it might be
Mhm.
available.
Mhm. Yep. And so
No,
there's
you're awesome.
4. Oh, Steve.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's 4. I know there's 4 episodes, and then that's when, so 4 episodes, and then right after those came out, then she died. Well, they died, several of them, and then
Yeah.
they put out a couple more. I think 1 or 2 more after that. I think as
Yeah, and
follow up.
focusing on her daughter and her son. Her son
Mhm.
had some issues. He was like his father in the way that he was up and down in his weight, and it was very obvious that when his weight was up, he wasn't in the forefront at all, and you
Mhm.
had to be a certain way to be a leader, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
terrible.
And
Yeah,
on a note on her son is that on the website currently he's not mentioned anywhere. So he is not in any type of leadership anywhere. So he must be gone. I didn't really find a whole lot of information on him. So I'm guessing he is somewhere laying low, and
yeah,
I don't know, like maybe change that last name or something.
yeah. And the daughter, ugh, her name.
I know.
Okay, the boy.
That's
It was Michael was and
Michael.
the
Yep.
daughter had 2 Hannah Elizabeth Hannah or Hannah Elizabeth? Was that her name?
Yeah, so Elizabeth, and then her married last name is Hannah, which is
Oh,
funny. Yeah.
okay.
Uh-huh.
And and her husband died in
He died in the crash
okay,
also
okay.
with Gwen.
And they lost a child to was it SIDS? Was it
Mhm.
and that was not talked about because this was another thing about the church
Yeah.
that is prevalent in many cults is that if something bad happens to you as a parishioner or a member cult member, then automatically it's God's judgment or you pulled it in or so you did
I
something bad to deserve
know.
it. But
I
when it
know.
happens to the leadership, it's someone else's fault. you know it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
devil or it's a
Oh, yeah.
potential trouble source or a third party or a something, so
Conveniently.
yeah, so they didn't really talk about it. And
Mhm.
I saw this trend too with that. It's like what do they call that? A toxic positivity. Like the
Yeah.
girl who got married the day of the plane crash, they just kept and they just acted like nothing happened.
Mhm.
It was
That
just
would be so traumatic to me. Like,
mhm,
can you imagine having to look back on your wedding day and like, "Oh, yeah, this is also the day that a bunch of important people in my church died."
mhm.
I can't imagine having to go on and smile because, I mean,
Yeah, having your anniversary be that date. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that was a very tragic event in their church, they're still mourning it. I mean, it was only 2 years ago, so, I
Yeah.
can't imagine.
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago. That's for sure.
Mhm, mhm.
And yeah, so
I actually, a note on that, I wonder if they were allowed to mourn properly. I wonder if they have, like, a mourning process, or if they did have to pretend like they were all okay.
well, um I think that, extreme, if you wanna call them fundamental, I don't know what label to put on it. It's hard to put a label,
Right.
but their
Mhm.
their, brand of Christianity that was very extreme and abusive, has this attitude of, like, pinning things on, like, well, God has a lesson for us, or, this
Yeah,
was,
true.
God allows things to happen. He's not making things happen necessarily, but he allows things to happen for a reason. So who
Yeah.
am I to say this is terrible. This should never have happened. Questioning God's sovereignty. So
Right.
um,
That's true.
there's all kinds of scriptures you could twist to back this up. This
Mhm.
whole thing of God's in control. Like I think they had a lot of use of, thought-stopping cliches too,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Mhm.
So it was
That's
like,
very
"Well,
true, that's very true.
just trust God, just trust and obey, God knows he's in control," you know? So
Yeah.
even her death would be, well, she finished her, you know, she finished her purpose on this earth. God was
Yeah.
calling her
She
home.
she
God
dropped
was
her
call
body.
God was calling her home, and, she went up marched up to the pearly gates, not to make fun of this, but and he said,
No, I know what
"Well
you're saying. God has
well
another
done."
angel
Yeah.
now.
"Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into
Yeah,
the glory of God." You
that's
know?
very true. That is a good way to spin it, and yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and it
And
also would be, like, pressure for the people remaining on the earth. Yeah, "Look, she was so righteous, she was so close to God, he called her home. What are you
mm.
doing?" You know?
Yeah,
Make sh
very true.
Yeah.
See, and that's funny. So that's the difference between someone like me who's like, I want to live as long as possible. I want to see my kids, become well, they are all adults, but I want to see my kids all, get into their careers and see what they all do with their lives and stuff like that. And um they're like, I just want to go be with God. Like,
Yeah, it's that other thing of the otherness, right? Or like the like in Scientology, just drop the body. This doesn't matter anyways. And
mhm,
I think that's why there's so many unaliving cults out there because it's almost a natural conclusion. And when
yeah.
you're controlled so much, you have so much abuse, you get to where you turn it on yourself. And the eating disorders too are definitely I think another way to punish yourself. Like,
Mhm.
I am not even worthy of eating, or I want to have control
Mm.
over, like, this kind of shows you. And this was something that I struggled with too, was this quote battle of against the spirit and the flesh. And it was like, if you have control over your eating, if you can go, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 days without eating anything, just a little bit of water, then you were righteous. If
Mhm.
your weight was in control, you were righteous. And it's a way of
Mm.
earning God's favor, but isn't God supposed to be giving you the ability to have control, have self-control? But what is this not eating thing to what does it accomplish?
Right,
I don't get
right.
it.
There is that, from what I understand, that state of euphoria that
Mhm.
happens,
Yeah.
and I personally have never okay, well, I can't say I've never fasted. So I've never purposely fasted for a reason. I think anorexia is a totally different situation. Um, but I mean, that was for I mean, even at 97 pounds, I still wanted to be smaller. I still
Yeah.
thought I was fat. So it was just a completely different mindset. But from what I understand, there is a state of euphoria that happens when you fast for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
And people try to reach that as well. And I guess people believe that, can believe that they're seeing Jesus or that Jesus is coming into their
Well,
body
yeah, you can
or.
hallucinate when you don't get
Mhm.
enough sleep, you don't get enough food, and it
Yeah.
said and Marlene used to say that it would get you closer to God, and probably because your basic needs are not being met, so you're in this altered state where you're
Yeah.
more susceptible to
Yeah.
things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much you could be so I don't you said that you never did the actual 10-day fast, but you did do a couple days.
I did 3 days, without
Yeah.
anything, and then,
Mm.
it was still fasting because you were like, I haven't added up the calories, but there were some days where I'd have, like, 3 to 500 calories, and then I would binge. I would go to work and just eat, like,
Oh,
a whole bag of
yeah,
Doritos because I was after, like, a week
absolutely.
of this shit, right?
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
it was coupled with all the indoctrination and the shame and the threats and everything, but I had to work. I mean, there were people that were laying prostrate for days on the floor, and
Jeez.
that's still bad. It's still bad that I
Yes.
had to work, but I wouldn't consider I was never anorexic. I think that's a
Mhm,
condition that's like a diagnosis that
mhm.
I wouldn't I wouldn't say I was anorexic, but and I wasn't really self-afflicting it as much as I was just going with what I was told to do. So it's
Right.
not something I completely internalized where I was yeah, I don't think I was in I did get really thin. You could see the bones in my neck and my ribs and all that. But
Mhm.
it was kind of short-lived because when I saw people going crazy and I was just like, "Fuck this," you know? And then I got
Yeah.
married. I fattened up for my wedding because I didn't wanna look like a skeleton. And I just
That's so
sometimes
interesting, though.
yeah.
A lot of times it's the opposite. That's really nice, actually.
Yeah, that's funny, huh? Yeah, usually people lose weight for their wedding, you know?
Yeah,
But,
which isn't always healthy.
well, I had, like, I've always had a giant head. My body did not match my head. So I was like, "I gotta eat." And then Duncan and I started to go to, like, Friendly's, and, like, I remember one time we just went to Friendly's and we just each, like, sowed down this Jim Dandy. It was gross too. It's like, I will never eat another Jim Dandy.
I do miss
So
Friendlies, though. You gotta get your ice cream and
yeah, Steve, we have fully covered this, but we will cover it again because the hair, yeah, she was just all powerful. Her hair got bigger and bigger and bigger. Her ego got bigger and bigger. Her power got bigger and bigger. So, yeah, it
Mm.
was definitely a theme in the documentary too, her hair. Yeah. But Dolly Parton, she coined that phrase. She can get away with it.
Oh,
She can get
she
away
can
with
have as high of hair as she wants to.
it.
She's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah,
I'm
she's
working on
someone
my
who
hair
does
big. I've
amazing
given
work
up.
for Tennessee.
I've given up.
I know,
Yes. I
just
love Dolly
flat,
Parton.
blah, whatever.
Yeah. So, wow. So in the height of her everything,
Mhm.
there was a tragedy.
Right, right.
You wanna
Which
talk
is
about
sad.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know in the so it was so okay, first of all, her husband, Tarzan, last name Lara, man, I
Joe.
can't Joe Lara.
Joe
Mhm.
Lara. You can tell
So
I've seen this a couple times.
he had his pilot's license and I believe this was a Cessna. So I mean it was a double engine plane. And in the plane, oh, actually, first of all, I want to mention they were headed to Florida to a MAGA rally, which, yeah. In the plane was Joe and Gwen, and then Gwen's son-in-law, and that's who is married to her daughter, was married to her daughter Elizabeth.
Mhm.
And then there were two couples who were leaders in the church, and I'm sorry, I don't remember their names, but, so a total of 7 people, and yeah,
Sounds about right. Yeah.
and I know for sure I was reading last night that he wasn't necessarily as experienced for the, like, climate and stuff that he was flying in,
Mhm.
so he I mean, it didn't say that he shouldn't have been flying in the report that I read, but it just sounded like he wasn't quite experienced enough for the climate and the situation. He did get, spatial distortion,
Right.
which
You don't know what end is up,
you
literally.
right,
Yeah.
you don't know where
Yeah.
you are, and so when you're in a plane, you have a little gauge, and it tells you this between the horizon and the land, the ground.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's supposed to help you because if you see that you're going one way or the other and you have that spatial distortion, it's supposed to help you. But when you get that, you get confused and you don't, it's just a little gauge probably isn't necessarily going to help you. Again,
Right.
this also has to do with experience.
Mhm.
So he was accelerating very quickly, but he was also trying to make a sharp turn for whatever reason. And I guess this isn't explained. No one understands why. All according to the black box. and then he ended up nosediving, and the plane crashed, I think in a lake, I
Yeah,
wanna say.
there's a lake.
Mhm.
Yeah, not a very big one. Yeah,
Right,
I
right.
don't remember what lake it was, but you guys can look it up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and, you know, not to sound too, harsh, but it seemed as if, he kinda took advantage, according to accounts that, um, people that who were interviewed, is that he kind of had a history of, being a little big for his britches and kind of taking advantage of people who had money because he was kind of
Mhm.
a struggling actor. He was, he used what he had, right? He had good looks and
Yeah.
charismatic
Mhm.
personality,
He was a
and,
clout chaser.
kind of found a sugar mama,
Yeah, who was worth
and, uh,
millions.
and he, wanted to start a country music. Guys, I'm just saying, if you haven't seen the documentary, man, I have no
Mhm.
words. I have no words for this guy, his country music career, but she just so happened to have a kind of her own, mini mega church, right? That's an oxymoron, with his
He had a captive
recording studio.
audience.
Yeah, with a recording studio,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
yeah, so, he thought he was Johnny Cash or something. He's standing on a high hill with his guitar, and then they started this, what was it, Life with or whatever with Gwen and Joe, and
Yeah,
they're twirling around
videos.
their mansion, and oh, Lord have mercy, yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Which brings me to another point quickly, if
She left
your
0 to her church.
church. Yes,
Joe
she did. She left
Joel
no
has a lot.
money
I'm gonna read all
of
of
her
your comments, Joel,
millions.
because he knows a lot about this and actually
Yeah,
he worked
of
for a
her
newspaper.
millions, she left not a dime to her church. If your church leader has a mansion, I don't know, I feel like you should really question things. Like if your church leader is Joel Osteen and has several private jets and several mansions across the globe, you really need to question where your money's going.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and, this is a small example, but Marlene Sweeney, you know how I love to say her name anytime I get. Um, yeah, we were we had 3 kids, and I was homeschooling, so I didn't work outside the home. Duncan was working
Mhm.
his ass off, and,
Bet.
I was trying to be, I was crocheting things, and I was, like, made my own curtains, which I'm terrible sewer. I was baking bread from scratch. I was doing all the things, right, to try to
Uh-huh.
save money, and, the kids, I mean, I always dressed them nice, but, like, we did go to the Goodwill and pick things
Yeah.
out, and
Mhm.
I got sales,
Yeah.
things like that. So, and Marlene's just, she's living high off the hog, like, compared to the rest of us, right? And we're
Yeah.
paying the bills. We're paying the
Yeah.
bills. And you think she
Mhm.
would have been a little bit nicer to us because without us, I know that she had to scramble to find another meal ticket,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah. When you guys
Because
left.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
we weren't single-handedly supporting her, but it was a
No,
a
but
lot, and she
yeah.
managed to squeeze quite a bit out of us to get a down payment on the new building, and
Right.
along
Yeah.
with another man in the church who ended up leaving with his wife a couple years later. He was a
That's sad.
retired gentleman who, gave his pension to help, with the building too.
Mm.
And I didn't talk to them much because they were elders. After they left, we did bump into them and talk to them, but we don't talk to them regularly. It was like that could be another whole stream. And I know Ash, if you're still in here, there's a word for it, but that Yanya Lalich talked about. But it was like coming to grips with how you treated each other in the cult.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that's called? I know she's been talking about it, but like, they were 2 of the elders that sat there and watched us get obliterated and looked at the floor and didn't say anything. So there's
Mhm.
still a
Oh my gosh.
little bit
Oh,
of hurt
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, moral injury. Yes, thank you.
Yes,
There
thank
she
you. Oh
is.
my gosh. I was
Moral
like,
injury.
thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And, yeah, that's kinda how you feel. You feel injured, and I know I did it to other people. I recruited people that I wish I never had. And
Mhm.
I was I was made to, not made, I mean, I could have said no, and then I would have been in big trouble, but made to inflict the, pain that I had been inflicted, um, with, right? Like, making somebody take this damn ammonia water and wash spice jars. That was my job,
Oh,
and then I had to pass it to somebody else, and it sounds silly, but there were, like, dozens and dozens and dozens of spice jars, and for some reason, Marlene wanted them shiny and clean all the time. Like, don't spices only last a year? Like, these were, like, 6 years old, some of them.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it was just busy work. It was just sick busy work, you know?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It kept you down.
Oh god. We gotta go through some of these comments, they're so
I
good.
know.
People talk about gym dandies. Since we are talking about the moral injury, I just wanted to read Ashley's input. Hey, kitty. People in coercive groups are often perpetrators themselves because of the bounded
Mhm,
choice in the group. Absolutely.
mhm. Right.
So
And,
true.
like, the biggest and most popular example would be Mike Rinder, and I mean, he obviously feels awful and has made up for things, but some
Yeah,
people
but
don't care, or like, Sarah Edmondson recruited so many people into Nexium, um, and she definitely feels awful about it.
mm.
Bounded choice, you have to go along with the behavior of the group, yep,
Yeah,
or
and there's that
or
twisting
else.
again, right? There's a twisting again of like, this is for their good. If you love them,
Mhm,
you'll do this even though, it might hurt at the time,
right,
but
but there's the other thing about how you're supposed to you're supposed to feel some pain, right? For God.
yep.
Mhm,
Yeah, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Or blessed are you who suffer, for God's glory. Well, I can't remember the exact words, but it was like basically like, blessed are you if you are suffering for Jesus, not for being like a murderer or a thief, like not for doing, illegal things. But if you're
uh-huh,
suffering because of God's will, you're taking up your cross, you're following Jesus. It's all that thing of like, don't think don't like, don't be selfish and don't think of anything for yourself. But if you do this, then you'll get all this. So it's still the same
mhm,
thing. It's like, yeah, you're gonna suffer now. And they use this example all the time as like, oh, no pain, no gain. Yeah, but I
right,
understand that. But if you're hurting people, like going to the gym and kind of exerting yourself and it hurts,
yeah,
muscles hurt and stuff, but you get benefit, that's one
mhm,
thing. But if you're inflicting pain on others, that's fuck no. No, no, no.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, that's not what it's supposed to mean.
Yes, it's not your fault. The regrets, I know.
Oh, Aaron Aaron said,
Yeah,
"I regret so much
I do
about my
too.
participation in the church." Aaron, I'm so sorry, but right,
Yeah.
it's not mhm, it's not your fault, and I don't know your situation, either. I don't know, what happened in your church, but I can assume that you were under some type of duress. You were, coerced. You weren't
Yeah.
acting of your own sound mind,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is usually the case. It's like, would you trust yourself to sign a contract at that moment? Would you trust yourself to sign a life insurance policy to somebody,
Yeah. Yeah, and we did that. We were going to leave. Not that we have a hell of a lot, but it just, the principle of it is like, we
Yep.
put down when we did our will when the kids were little, if anything happened to us, such and such. And we were going to leave a chunk to the church instead of our own children, and we finally went and you know booted them off of anything, um
Yeah.
but it took a while. We're just procrastinators. But this
Yeah.
I haven't read all of this comment, but I wanted to pop it up. Auntie, one thing that I've been pondering about: if one acts horrible when being part of a coercive org but differently outside, were you a bad person then?
Wow. That's really deep.
Yeah, what do you think,
Mm.
Peggy?
So, as somebody who's never really had that type of situation, I have not been in any type of coercive relationship. I'm thinking she's trying to say, does one outweigh the other? Um,
Right, does that make you a bad person? If you acted like that in the
right.
cult,
I
um,
don't
and
think
you
it
act
makes you
differently after you realize how shitty you acted,
right. I
then
don't think it
no.
makes you bad. It's the whole thing is your conscience. I think it are you do you feel guilty
Right,
about
yeah,
what you're doing? Is do you have that gut instinct that you're doing something wrong, but you know that you're going to be severely punished. You're going to be cleaning toilets with your hands for the next 5 months. Like I understand if you relate that to fear, like if I
mhm,
don't do this, your brain instantly relates that to fear, but then you also have your gut instinct going, but this is wrong. I really don't believe that God is telling me to do this.
right,
This
yeah,
really probably isn't what God's saying. There's that difference there. There are people, like the Keith Ranieri's of the world who don't give a fuck. They do not care who they hurt, how they hurt them,
mhm,
how much weight they make people lose, they do not care.
yeah. And I think the difference is, like, recognizing, like, number 1, that there can be consequences of your actions, whether you were under coercive control or not. Like, you can't just say, "I did horrific things during the 1930s and 40s in Germany," right? You know what I'm talking
Right.
about? And, just
Definitely.
saying, "Well, I was under a coercive, dictator." Well,
Hmm.
you're still gonna go to jail if you unalive people brutally. It's terrible, or
Un,
anyway,
un, 100%.
right? So there's
Hmm.
still consequences, but I think the difference is recognizing, forgiving yourself, and also being willing to admit, just say, "Hey,
Taking that
I did
accountability.
terrible things." Right,
Hmm.
right. Taking accountability, facing the consequences. But, in kind of the space that we're talking about with the cult, whether it's Gwen Shamblin's or mine or Scientology and different things, taking away the legal ramifications of it. If you're being broken down by food deprivation, sleep deprivation,
Yeah.
mind control over years and years and years and years, and
Hmm.
then when you start to deconstruct and realize, and you're renouncing it, and you're saying, I think there's that difference of, like, my authentic self was so stuffed down for so many years. And if your authentic self is, if you allow yourself to be a shitty person and use that as an excuse, that's not okay. But if you're
Right.
owning if you're owning your shit,
Uh-huh.
as some people throw around,
Yeah.
certain moderator, anyways, we won't mention that. Yeah. So there's a difference.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was
So,
a great question. Holy cow.
a really good question. Thank you for that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I love with engaging in the chat, because there's
No.
so much great interaction and deep thought, and yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So we're at what, about hour and 15 minutes. Do you want to go through some of the start, or did you have anything else you wanted to kind of present before we start wrapping up and answering questions?
Yeah, one other interesting thing that I saw on the website as of
Hey, Ash.
currently,
Thank you.
it says, "Oh, bye, Ash. We'll see you later. We'll talk to you later." Um,
Definitely. We will talk to her later. Yeah.
um, so the Remnant Fellowship Church, which is the name of the church, has now spread across the world, and it says that it's found in over 170 cities worldwide. I obviously don't know and don't really believe the accuracy of that because it's on their personal website. It
Right.
sounds, like
Yeah.
Scientology
Good
has
point.
billions
Yeah.
of members. But it was interesting to me, like that they are spreading into other churches across the world. Like, I didn't realize that they were franchising or whatever. I don't know if that started when Gwen was still alive.
No, is
Because
it
like you
still
said,
called The Way Down? Is it still called
when
that?
the church itself is called the
Oh.
Remnant Fellowship Church.
Oh, so they're starting a remnant fellowship church everywhere?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
apparently. Apparently.
no,
Yeah. Oh,
no.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, the Way Down program is still like in other churches and stuff. Like other churches are still using it.
Okay.
Mhm. But the actual Remnant Fellowship Church, I guess, is like branching out. So I don't know if that started when Gwen was still alive, because like we said, it's only been 2 years. Or is this something that Elizabeth started? I don't know. That was very interesting to me.
Mhm.
And then Elizabeth, I just have some notes here.
Mhm.
Elizabeth herself, so she on the website is included with what they're calling the shepherds, which are the highest group of leaders. And she's called the leader and the director, but she isn't like separate from the other shepherds. So it is, and the shepherds are now both men and women. So the highest
Ugh.
echelon of
The
leaders.
word shepherd kinda
I know.
makes me
I know. I'm sure that's
cringe
a
a little just because, that's
mhm.
been misused too, shepherding the
Yeah.
flock and yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Mhm. All
Yeah.
of these all
Interesting.
of these biblical words that religions and faiths and denominations have taken and made their own and twisted is just crazy to me. Like remnant, or
Yeah.
it's I know.
Yeah, they're
And
not bad in themselves, it's just what they're used, to quote justify and twisting and, like
yeah.
we did the thing my husband and I did, Duncan and I did the thing about music the other day. Music is amazing. It's beautiful. It's
Mhm.
awesome. But if it's misused to manipulate and control people, that's when you got a problem,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, like I said,
Wow.
Michael, the son, is not anywhere mentioned. Elizabeth Hannah on the website, if you want to look it up, it's on the Remnant Fellowship Church website. Elizabeth Hannah herself has a statement. So there's a personal statement from her regarding like her mom and the church. And then there is the official statement from the church itself about the documentary. And again, it's denying everything. Oh,
Yeah.
we did want to talk about the abuse.
Oh,
And
oh, Joseph Smith.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, real
Yeah.
quick. Um
Okay.
so in the
Okay.
documentary it talks about a couple who abused their children, which I guess there was plenty of evidence of that. On the website, it says that they deny the couple abused their children ever, that they were very loving parents. Um, the church itself paid for the defense for the couple. And then the church is now paying for, they made their own website called like, I thought I wrote it down. Okay, so their website that they made for the couple is called www.thesmithsareinnocent.com. And it's just all propaganda about, how great the Smiths are, what great parents they are,
Yeah.
how they took good care of their
Oh,
children. Mhm. And then um on an article that I was reading about the abuse itself, one thing that's that I don't know if you've heard this, that's going to remind you of certain someone. Apparently they beat the boys. They have 3 boys. Apparently they beat the 2 older boys with the long glue sticks,
yeah.
which is a page right out of Michael Pearl's To Train a Child. And
Yeah.
that definitely upset me. I know that he said, Michael Pearl says the long glue sticks because they're bendable and they have more traction or whatever. Um, but
Yeah.
the little boy who died, Joseph, he's their middle child. And according to the Smiths Are Innocent website, Joseph died of an infection and septic shock. The staph infection, now this is not from a doctor, this is just from their website that they decided, right? The staph infection most likely entered his body through the open scratches and sores caused by him scratching a severe form of eczema that he had. So I guess he was constantly scratching his eczema. So the staph infection entered, and I know that staph infections, they get in through wounds and stuff like that, but from him constantly scratching his eczema. So on the website, it's saying if you look at the pictures of him when he was in the hospital, that's where the doctors were saying that it looks like he has bruises and like beating marks all over him. And the website saying, no, if you look closely, that's his eczema. And you can see where he scratched himself from his eczema. Like that's not his marks from being beaten, you know. So of course they have an answer. They had an answer for everything. They were able to
Oh,
explain
yeah.
away everything.
Oh, they spun
Mhm.
everything, and it just, you had investigators and healthcare professionals and things saying no. I mean, this is the evidence. I mean, one thing, just this whole maybe I forgot to go back to this thing because it makes me literally feel ill.
I know,
And
I
some of
know.
the things that were said were just awful.
Mhm.
That child had bruises and marks on his body. Um, the only inch of his body that didn't have marks or bruises were the palms of his hands, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
there's so much testimony, like that babysitter that was in the church where he told her to, you know, she's like, "No, I wouldn't do that."
Yeah. Oh
And
my gosh.
and all the crap that was even recorded, Gwen's own voice that they found in the church, after
Mhm.
obtaining a, search warrant,
Yeah.
and she's denying that she ever said that. It's right
Mhm.
in your files on a cassette,
Right.
that she
Right.
she was basically encouraging her to beat her child and
Mhm.
putting him in a box, and I don't even wanna it really makes me sick, and I'm gonna start bawling,
Yeah.
but, yeah, this evil book, you could tell the influences, and they didn't talk about IBLP or,
Mhm.
Michael and Debbie Pearl, Greater Joy Ministries, which is a bunch of crap, um, give you
It's
greater
not
joy.
it's not joy by any means.
No, no, but they didn't mention it, but you could tell, like, of course, she took stuff and would make her own,
Mhm.
like, she did a pyramid instead of an umbrella, but it was the same stuff.
Mhm.
Authority, if you wanna stay in this church, you're going to love authority. Sounded just like Marlene, you know? The,
I bet.
oh, just disgusting, yeah. She
Mhm.
triggered me. I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep talking about this shit because I just want people to know, and see the signs and just stay the F away from it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's so many red flags about a church, and if your church is if your church is telling you how to pray or like when to pray, praying's supposed to be a personal thing between you and God. You're not supposed to be told, this is what you're supposed to pray for. This is when you're supposed to pray. You're not supposed to be told what your relationship with God is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Like you know, this is what God is supposed to be to you. God is supposed to be it's a personal experience. It's not somebody telling you what it's supposed to be about. If your church is telling you, where to live, how to live, how much
Yeah.
money to make, how much money to give them,
Yep.
there's and all of these culty churches have the same red flags, and it's all about the
Mhm.
control, and it's all about giving them the money, you know and
Yep.
like I said before, if your pastors are driving around in Lexuses and living in mansions and wearing way fancier clothes than you could
Yeah.
ever afford in your lifetime,
Mhm.
like, seriously look into where your money's going. All churches are
But
supposed to be
but
transparent
Peggy
into
but
where their money
Peggy,
goes.
Peggy, you too can drive around in a Lexus if you have enough faith, right? But
Oh, very
the
true.
Lexuses have to come from somewhere. It's like an MLM. It's just, the people at the top of the pyramid scheme are, living high off the hog while people below are like, I want that. But where do you think they're getting it from? You.
Yeah.
Unless you have, people be under you to prop you up with all this, it doesn't work, you know. So so I was just gonna pop up some comments
Yeah, for sure.
if you
I'm
want.
just gonna
Okay.
run and get my computer cord because I just got
Okay,
that
honey.
little
No
notification.
problem. No problem. Hey, Pop Groomer 20. Part one. I had IBS since I was a teen. Formal diagnosis at 19. Last 15 years progressively got so bad I couldn't really eat without getting sick, so my body was in starvation state. Now have a doctor that cares and believes me on how bad it was. It's much better now that I can eat more healthy food. Finally losing weight and feeling human again um other things. Yeah, it really makes a big difference, I think, to have a healthcare professional that number one believes you. Number two will help you um, in your process of finding things that work for you, that help you, instead of either not believing you or telling you what's best for you. Sometimes, you got to listen to your body and they can guide you. But just being told, I believe you, I think it really helped me because I, was being told that the devil was lying to me, that I was going crazy, that I was making this up. I was just trying to get attention. And I'm like, I'm literally in pain 24/7. So to
Mhm.
have, we're just talking about Pup Groomer said that she had IBS and was diagnosed many years ago and saw,
Mhm.
found a doctor that believed how bad she was feeling and helped her through it. So I think
Yeah,
that makes a big
yeah.
difference.
I
Yeah.
understand that all too well. Mhm.
Yeah. So Alicia RT, the 144 just brings me right to the Lori J. Bell and Chad J. Bell. Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
That was a
Mhm.
horrible story. I know. It's just like the Mormons, and all their art offshoots and all the crazy side things that they go into. Many
There's
religions will
so
take that
many.
144,000. Jehovah's Witnesses is big on it,
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
someone said later on, let me just pop that up really quick. It was Eileen. Um, the remnant in the Bible is made up of Jewish people always. Yes, it's always God will
Right.
rise a remnant, but you know,
Mhm.
um, lots of Christian cults like to think that they're special. They're special ones.
Of
Oh,
course. Mhm.
I I meant to bring this up earlier. I totally forgot. Can we do a round of cult bingo? She's ticking the boxes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I think Ash had the link. She might have put
She
it
did,
up.
yeah, somewhere.
Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if anybody did the bingo, let us know. I'm really interested in that.
Right.
Sorry, way late. This
Devo.
was this was like an hour ago, but Steve-O popped in so we could say happy birthday to him. Yeah. Um, you want to read some?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, good.
Eileen, this interested me. She said, I did the weigh down workshop and lost a lot of weight, and I think that's great. Then I learned she was an apostate. This was before she started her church. I still struggle with an eating disorder. I'm very sorry. I understand that. I think that if you can find a way to lose weight healthy and keep it off and be healthy, if that was through prayer, I mean, by all means,
Right.
if you are a believer and you believe that God is a way to help you lose that weight, by all means, I would not tell somebody not to do it. And I said before, I do think that you should be under the supervision of a dietitian or a doctor. But I also just worry about the way that Gwen was having people lose weight so fast. That
Yeah.
it's like I was doing some research for That's So Fucked Up for an episode that we're doing, and I was looking into The Biggest Loser. Their controversy was having people lose weight so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And then one of the biggest issues was those people, once they were off that set and they were back in real life, they were gaining
Gaining
that
it
back.
back. Mhm.
Mhm. And you can't sustain that. When you lose 140 pounds in a quick amount of time, you're not gonna sustain that. There's no way. There's no
It
way.
can it just puts a strain on your heart too, to lose that.
Yes.
You can be 300 pounds and still be malnourished if you've lost, as I remember, reading some things after seeing an episode of Grey's Anatomy, and it turned out it was true, was that
Mhm.
this woman who was probably my si that I size that I am now, but she had been close to 350, 400 something pounds, and had lost well over 100 and something pounds, but she had a heart attack on the table, and and they had like this malpractice suit or something against one of the characters in the movie, but I looked or in the show, but I looked it up and I was like, that's true. You can actually be malnourished and not look malnourished,
Mhm.
because
Right. Right.
you lose weight that fast. Yeah.
Right. Mhm. You're not eating healthily, you're not eating the proper food and the proper portions and the things that you're supposed to be doing. Mhm.
Mhm. So
Mhm.
Joel McCoyne said, back in my newspaper days, shortly after, well, Gwen Shamblin, we're talking about, started the church. His title was The Big Hair Cult. Yeah, and
That's
then
funny.
uh, Joel. Oh wait, way back in my newspaper days, a writer wrote a piece on her after she started her church. Yeah, big hair. They sued the paper and lost. Well, good. I'm glad they lost. Yeah.
Nice, nice. She was very quick to sue for,
Yeah.
slander, libel, things like that. She was really quick to sue for that.
Yeah, they had a lot of lawyers. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Eileen
Like
asked Jim Dandy. Is that just a Northeast thing?
it
Because
is.
Friendlies is sort of kind of got getting, out of business mostly.
Right.
But
There's not a lot left. Mhm.
Duncan explains it. Jim Dandy equals the biggest and best banana split, 3 scoops of ice cream, chocolate syrup, whipped cream, yummy, probably 3,000 calories. Yes. Yeah. He used to
It
be able to
sounds
scarf
amazing,
one
though.
down.
I would scarf one down right now.
Yeah. We're talking about Jim Dandy. This is funny. Um, Aaron S. I feel a duty to be a safe person for my sister's kids. I'm trying to make sure they know they can come to
Mm.
talk to me about anything if they ever want to.
That's great,
Yeah,
that's great. That's one of
that's a
my
good
things
honesty.
that I talk to people about is, so I'm a, counselor on a suicide hotline for LGBTQ youth, which it can be difficult, but I really enjoy it because I always make sure that I'm a safe space for people to talk to, for kids to talk to. I always want to be I'm like an auntie to so many kids that like aren't my kids
Mhm.
because I want to be that safe space for them. So my niece, she came out as transgender a couple years ago and I was very honored to be the first person that she told because I was the safe space for her to talk to. You know, it's
Right.
all kids deserve a safe space, a safe person with no judgment. Just listen. Like kids don't even want you to fix their problems half the time. They just need somebody to listen because a lot of the kids that come into my chat that are, that are suicidal is because they have no one in their life to talk to. They have no one else to talk to. Their parents won't listen to them. They don't feel comfortable at school. They all just need, and I even ask them about their extended families. Like who in your extended
Mhm.
family do you have aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents? Who can you talk to? And a lot of times they say no one, and it breaks my heart. So yeah, I love that. I love that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you. And Aaron asked, I need your email, lovely lady. See, it is. I know I had it. So, oh, here it is. It's just the name of the channel at Gmail. So it's coffee cults and crafts at gmail.com. Anyone can email me. And I promise I'll try to remember to check my spam box because everything gets funneled into my old Yahoo account because that's what I'm just so used to. And things have been going into spam too. So feel free
Yeah,
to
we're
email
old
me and I
ladies.
will
We
get
still
back to
use
you.
Yahoo.
You're not old, you're so much younger than me. Yeah, so, Evan Lee Ev Evelyn Lee Barney, good question. Oh, Auntie says this, "Maybe we're all just victim of our circumstances to a point, but we're still the authors of our own stories and need to own it up." Yeah, I
Right.
totally agree with that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
Evelyn
great comment.
said, "We're all flawed, all broken, and we do the best we can with what we've got." Yep, at age 69, I really do my best to have a happy, peaceful life and share, that with those I love. And isn't
Oh,
that
great.
doesn't that just sum it up? Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
amazing.
Mhm, mhm.
Oh,
I think that's the
Steve-O,
ultimate goal.
is there friendlies in Denver? Denver?
No, there's
Yeah.
not.
Oh,
What's
oh,
in Denver?
we would ship
Oh,
one to you.
Devo. Do you have a Culver's? I wonder if you have a Culver's near you. I know they have them down in the Springs. Mm. Might need to hit
Mm.
up Culver's if you
Hey,
have one
Kat.
out there. Hi,
Thank you
Cat.
f Hi, Kat. Thank you for being here for the LGBTQ youth. So important that they have someone safe to talk with. Yeah, and haven't
Right.
we been talking a lot about, shame and whether it's body shaming or,
Yeah,
you know, gender shaming, anything like that. So,
right,
it's
right.
definitely so important, so important.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm. Yeah, it's definitely a calling for me.
yeah.
A calling,
Alright,
oh,
go ahead.
I said a calling.
It is. Well, that's okay. We'll just take back some of the words,
We
that
should, yes.
the cults have screwed up and twisted. So,
Yeah,
all right, this has been great. Yeah, the chat's been flowing. I think that we had
great
so
conversation.
much good conversations, and yeah,
Mhm,
so many good
mhm.
conversations about it. So much good discourse, and
Yeah.
I know you got to get to work, and I've got things to do. So,
Mm,
yeah, we've been going for quite a while. This was great. And this can just be the start of, well, not even a start. We've been kind of continuing this series about different cults, but it's
right, right.
I think that
Great to talk to you.
the body shaming and the food, deprivation and things like that is a subject I'd like to talk about, in the future
Absolutely.
too.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Mhm.
but we do have a stream coming up soon with Clearwater Chad, right?
Yes,
We're gonna
yes, I'm
bring our
looking forward to
buddy
that one.
Chad back in and talk about another cult. So it'll
Mhm,
be really
mhm.
interesting. And
Yeah,
there's some new documentaries out that I'd like to watch and talk about too. So I
for
know a lot
sure.
of people are covering
There's a lot going
yeah,
on in the cultiverse right now.
yeah,
Mhm.
twin flames and things like that. And I know other
Mm.
creators are talking about it too. But hey, I think the more exposure it gets, the better, right? So
Especially because it's still going on. It
yeah,
is still a danger. Mhm, stuff like
yeah,
that. Yep.
yep. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and
Bye. Thank you so
we'll
much.
see you soon. Take care.